Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, 2018 animated feature film by Sony Studios. It tells the Spider-Man story that exists outside of all the other previous universes and continuities, and in fact takes place in a world alternate to even the usual comic book storylines. Now, the movie came out last Christmas, and I think not a lot of people were actually that interested in it or were awaiting it consciously. Some of the fandom, myself included, were excited for it because of a very promising trailer, but the general public, I felt like, wasn't really too hyped about it. And then the film came out and just raked in praise after praise, terrific reviews, 10 out of 10 scores, and so on. I went to see it back then with a group of friends, and we all loved it. In fact, I thought it was a perfect movie. But that was 6 months ago on the big screen, and as I said, I was quite positively geared towards it even before it began. So I had a chance to revisit it yesterday, though, and this was a chance for me to actually reevaluate it to see if it's genuinely that good, or maybe I was just caught up in a moment, overexcited back then. And the short answer is that I liked it even more this time around. I think it's one of the best animated movies of all time, one of the best superhero movies of all time, the best Spider-Man movie of all time, and in general just an absolute masterpiece. So I'll start with the story. We begin by meeting Peter Parker, who has been Spider-Man for around a decade. He's a well-established hero, and in this particular reality, a very celebrated one. He is loved by the people of New York, he has a successful and happy personal life as well, and generally has a lot going on for him. Then we meet the actual hero of this story, Miles Morales, a bright young teenager who is the son of a cop. And he goes to this elite private school but doesn't really like it, doesn't want to live up to his talents and expectations placed on him, and would rather stick to normal life, which, yeah, sounds like one of the major themes of Spider-Man. He gets bitten by a radioactive spider as well and starts to develop powers, and by sheer coincidence, he runs into the proper Spider-Man, who is at the moment fighting bad guys and trying to disable a particle collider built by the Kingpin. When fired up, it threatens to open up portals to alternate dimensions and make reality collapse on itself. Unfortunately, Peter Parker is unable to stop Kingpin, and actually he dies, but not before he tasks Miles with finishing the job. He's just a kid though, doesn't understand his powers, doesn't know what to do, and he's sort of trying to figure it all out. And then he meets Peter Parker again. This time a Peter Parker from a different timeline. Turns out he, and as we soon find out, other spider people were drawn into this universe by the particle collider. They along with Miles, begin working together to try and undo the damage, to go back to their own worlds, and to disable the collider for good. Now, this is an origin story for Miles Morales' Spider-Man, who, similarly to the comics, takes on the mantle of Spider-Man after the death of Peter Parker. And with sort of recasting of such an important and beloved character, or at least title, you always have to worry, will this make sense? Will the new character live up to the old one, fill its shoes? Is it not just pandering by saying, okay, we'll have a black Spider-Man this time around, just for diversity's sake? And the answer is no, it isn't. Miles is a fully realized character, well fleshed out, well written, believable, and most importantly, he carries on the themes of Spider-Man in a wonderful way. He keeps getting hit and coming back up. He has to figure out his personal life along with the superhero stuff. He has to learn to be brave and to take on the responsibility. The way his story is done is just nothing short of fantastic, and I stand by my original assessment that it is in fact the best Spider-Man story ever filmed. What's interesting is that it works despite so many potential traps, namely so many other spider characters that are in the film. The alternate versions of Spider-Man are all completely different and unique, and they all play an integral role in the story. Yet the story very clearly remains that of Miles Morales. He is the emotional core and the main drive of the plot. I think it's just an achievement of the script to have done it all so well. And talking about the script, it does this rare thing of just not wasting any dialogue at all, almost. Pretty much everything that's said either moves the plot forward or is recalled later in a meaningful way. The lines are rarely just one-offs with no impact, they're written for a reason. And then we come to perhaps an even more important element of the film, which is the animation. And I'd say that in this case, style is equally as important as substance, and boy is the style just jaw-dropping. It's difficult to describe the animation without actually seeing it, because it isn't comparable to anything else I've ever seen. The studio actually pioneered a new technique where they sort of combined and blended traditional 2D animation with 3D models, and then on top of that played with the frame rates of the film and completely dropped motion blur to make it all look more crisp and snappy. And the result is this vibrant, colorful, dynamic, lively stream of images that look like a beautiful comic book come to life. I mean, really, in the modern day of Western animation, looking just stale and all the same with the boring 3D generated stuff, I'm looking at you, Pixar and DreamWorks. Spider-Verse just stands out like a diamond in the rough. It is absolutely incredible in terms of the visuals. There's so many things happening all the time, so many details, so much life in the animation. I was blown away back then and in the movie theater, and I was blown away again now on the TV screen. I also have to mention how some of the alternate spider people are themselves drawn in a completely different style, and them and their movements and animations and their immediate surroundings are also done in a different way. Yet they somehow all blend in together and with the style of the movie itself, and it's never jarring. It's just incredible. The movie also lands all of its emotional punches. The death of Spider-Man at the very beginning, the hardships that Miles faces, his friendship with Gwen, and the best scene of the film, his leap of faith when with "What's Up Danger," the song playing. Just chills, man. Finally, I also have to mention the cameo made by Stan Lee. He was the creator of Spider-Man and loads of other characters, comic book writer, head of Marvel Comics. Famously had a small cameo in every single Marvel film, and this one was made shortly before his death. It's one of the very last ones, and it just hits the feelings really hard, partly because of that fact, but partly because it's just probably one of the best of them all, the most genuine for sure, and not just humorous, but wise. So if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse yet, please do yourself a favor and watch it as soon as you can. It really is a one-of-a-kind work of art.